So, and the reason we think is that once you give a long enough period of time when the animal can ramp up its like the enzymes in the liver that are responsible for fat oxidation, I mean, they just basically become fat burn. I hate that term, fat burning machine. It's
All right. So in this clip, I react to Joe Rogan and Dr. Peter Attia. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is talking about the benefits of fasting. So he's going to share what he believes the benefits of fasting are. I'm going to give my reaction to it. And I'm also going to include a study at the end of this as well that shares some recent findings about intermittent fasting. So just please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. If this is your first time here, please subscribe. And let's get into it.
so overused, but they basically just become unbelievably efficient at metabolizing fat. So we have to be careful though when we extrapolate that, because you and I have a very different metabolism than a mouse. Like a 16-hour fast to a mouse is much longer than it is to us.
I'm glad that he actually said that, because when I watched this a couple times now, but I was really curious, like, what is 16 hours from like a human's perspective to a mouse? Like, what is that? I have no idea what a lifespan of a mouse is. I'm sure I could look it up, but I'm wondering what the difference in time is. And just oddly enough, like lab rats and humans have like a 99% like match in DNA. It's just random. I don't know how that is, but
So
it's
I don't
weird.
know if those benefits would extend. Also, it's not entirely clear that time-restricted feeding will produce the longevity benefit that we see in other sort of fasting or fasting mimicking types of diets. So for me, what it comes down to is, I mean, honestly, it's just an easier way. It gives me a much more liberty with what I eat during my feeding window. I don't have to be nearly as restrictive when I'm feeding. If I have that period off, it just in terms of like my physiologic response. Secondly, there's a convenience thing. Like I kind of hate being tethered to eat. I like knowing that, hey, if I get into a pinch, like I don't have to eat right now. If I'm sitting on the airplane and they're serving dog shit, I don't have to eat. I can wait another 5 hours until I eat. Um, I also just feel much more steady in my energy levels. I I kind of vaguely remember like 10 years ago when I was kind of like eating a normal diet, how I always had this lull in energy after lunch. Like there was the post lunch, pre dinner, I just don't feel good. Like, not that I feel bad, but like I'm not sharp. I'm not in my A game. And I don't even remember what that feels like anymore, which is not to say I feel great all the time, but I definitely don't have that vacillating energy level.
Yeah, I've said that to people when I eliminated most carbs from my diet. And I have a friend of mine who talked to his trainer about that. His trainer's like, "You're crazy. Eat bread, eat pasta. Don't listen to him." I'm like, "No, don't listen to him."
Okay, so I just want to kind of go over a couple things I heard there. I don't know. I don't really know all of this. These men are obviously a little older in age, so I'm kind of curious about how that affects their energy levels, because as he was given his account of the ups and downs, insulin spikes that is causing him to feel tired after lunch. I was trying to think if I've ever experienced that. I don't really, I can never even think of a time in which I experienced that, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I have. I've never been like cognizant of it. Um, I don't really remember any like large like dropped offs where I feel like super tired. I really never even experienced that, to be honest with you. I wonder, leave a comment below if you guys experienced that. Now, they have this thing called like the itis, and I've heard of that and experienced that, but like on a normal everyday basis, I don't really experience that at all. I've never experienced that. Just saying. What about you?
Like, just Google it. That stuff's fucking terrible for you. If you want to eat carbohydrates, get it from fruits. Get it from some natural.
All right, I'm not going to stopping and starting this. I just want to point out that Joe Rogan said get it in fruits, because I'm going to have a response to that in like maybe like a couple minutes when he completes his. You're going to see the preposterousness of that statement.
natural sources. But
Watch
if
that.
you have a trainer that's telling you to eat bread, get a new fucking trainer, because it's not what you need. I mean, it's nothing wrong with eating it if you want to occasionally and in
And I
small
should point
doses.
out that
When I
trainers
eliminated most
train
of that stuff from my
people.
diet, I
They
felt the
have
exact same thing.
really no
I felt
experience in
that
nutrition. Trainers
midday
train people.
nap desire
Nutritionists
go away.
help
Just the
people with
fogginess.
nutrition.
Like
Just
at the end of
saying.
the day, you're like, oh God, I'm fucking tired. And then I'd have to drink a cup of coffee to get ramped back up again. And it's just like never ending cycle of having this insulin spike and then this crash. And that's from carbohydrates. It's from refined carbohydrates and, having too.
All right. Now, I'm going to admit Joe Rogan has a great physique, especially for his age. I'm not saying anything about that, but I want to be clear. I just like to try to be as accurate as I can. Joe Rogan has some sort of negative bias towards carbohydrates. He's saying that carbs are all bad, but then in this particular example, he specifically says refined carbohydrates, which is like the enriched flour, all of that stuff. That type of thing is way different than carbs in general. Carbs in general could be sweet potatoes, which are very good for you and don't have a big insulin spikes. Neither does something like oatmeal, very good for you, does not have the insulin spikes that he's talking about. So, I think he should be a little more accurate with what he's saying. If he's saying like carbs are bad for you, and by the way, Joe Rogan eats I don't know, but I'm assuming at the time of this, Joe Rogan ate like a straight meat eating diet. He was a carnivore. He ate the carnivore diet. So, maybe that was during this time. I don't watch Joe Rogan on a regular basis to know if he like stopped doing that. But there was a time where he was like vastly against carbs. And I think that this is kind of his bias, and he's not really being 100% accurate in what he's saying, because like I said, a sweet potato is something that pro bodybuilders eat all the time. It doesn't really have those insulin spikes that he's talking about. He's talking about bread, flour. I mean, he's talking about like stuff like Rice Krispie treats, stuff like that. That could do that for you. But again, there's other carbs that are that don't do that. Just saying.
Too much fucking sugar in your body, and everybody does it. It's like,
All
look
right,
around.
so this will be funny for your
And that was my point about the sugar. He's talking about, sugar is bad for you and, carbs and sugar. But then he says, if you want to eat carbs, just eat fruit. What do you think is in fruit? Sugar, water, fiber? That's about it. It's literally sugar in fruit. Fruit has a ton of sugar. So I'm not really sure why he's saying that sugar is bad for you, but he's recommending you eat fruit that has a ton of sugar. I don't know what he's talking about.
So
What is he
Google
talking
my
about?
name and just put like Peter Attia fat. And you're gonna see a picture of me when I was a swimmer. Because all this time we were talking about me swimming, you're assuming like I'm a fit dude. I was a fit but fat dude.
Fit but fat.
Fit but totally fat. And this
What
is
were you eating?
Oh, nonstop carbs. Look, there I am. See on the left there.
Well, I wouldn't say you were fat.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap up this portion of the video and then I'm going to transition into the study. But look, it's really no big deal about eating carbs. It's no like it's no big deal about being intermittent fasting or doing a normal traditional diet where you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Whatever your preference is and whatever you can stick to, just keep doing that. If you like intermittent fasting, cool. If that works for you, cool. I think it can be very beneficial from like a practicality standpoint, and it could be good for you for like, mental toughness if that's something that you're into. Is it better for you for fat loss? I'm going to share a study with you that maybe says otherwise. Now, I just want to point out here, he says on the left, dude was, he wasn't like fat or anything, but he had, he is more fit on the right? The before and after, is vastly different. And he's saying, I was eating a ton of carbs. Okay, but let's really like unpack that, because the problem with people saying stuff like this is, they're not really being accurate with what they're saying. And being as though this video almost, has like 4.4 million people have viewed it, I think we should be a little more accurate, especially because he's an actual doctor. I mean, not that doctors are, geniuses in nutrition, because, a person that may be a doctor in, skin, I don't think that he would be like extremely qualified to talk about nutrition. He'd be qualified to talk about skin, just as someone that talks about livers, or a doctor about livers, it's not really that qualified to talk about urology, you know. But the point is, if you're going to reduce calories, you're going to lose weight. So if you have a reduction of calories because you're intermittent fasting, of course you're going to lose weight. If you take out carbs from your diet and you don't replace them with something else, of course you're going to lose weight, because carbs translate to calories at some point. So of course, if you stop eating carbs and you don't replace it with something else, you lose weight. But then people run out here and say, oh, carbs are the devil and you should stop eating carbs, because when I stopped eating carbs, I lost weight. You lost weight not because you stopped eating carbs. You lost weight because you reduced your caloric intake, because you cut out the carbs. So it has nothing to do with the carbs. You could have did the same thing if you took fats out your diet. Could have did the same thing if you took protein out your diet. It's easier to take carbs out your diet because carbs aren't really important to anything, as opposed to like fats. Fats help with certain processes in your body and stuff like that. And protein stimulates muscle growth and things like that. So carbs don't really have like those type of benefits, so it's easier to take them out. And then of course, like if you have like cookies or even bread and stuff like that, high in calories for a small portion of a small serving size, if you will. So it's easier to take out carbs because you don't need them, and they're very they're packed with calories sometimes. So it's not necessarily the fact that you lost weight because of carbs. It's because you just ate less food. That's all. Now, I wanted to transition into this study here. And in this study, a guy, I think his name is Dr. Welsh. I don't remember his name. It's something Welsh. But essentially, this guy, he lost a ton of weight with intermittent fasting. And he believed that intermittent fasting was the end all be all for weight loss. And he wanted to prove it with a randomized study. So in this study, he concluded, now they took a study, and I'm gonna link to this study below, but as you can see, it's a random study from adults. It's 116 people, which, by the way, in a study about intermittent fasting, that's a lot of people. Most studies with intermittent fasting have a very small sample size. So 116 people is actually a rather large sample size in regards to intermittent fasting. All right, so essentially, the findings were that in a randomized study, and that includes 116 people, that time-restricted eating was associated with a modest decrease in weight that was not significantly different from the decrease in the control group. So basically, the randomized group, they were on a 16-8 intermittent fasting diet, and then the other group, they were on just a regular breakfast, lunch, dinner. And as they say, it wasn't really much difference in their weight loss. So as he says in the meaning, it says, meaning that they could not confer that weight loss or cardiometabolic benefits were due to intermittent fasting. So as you can see here, they did a 16-8 diet to see what the benefits were on weight loss and any health risks, health markers. And I'm not going to bore you with the whole study. It's just a couple things that I wanted to show you here. They there is really no difference. Like, I mean, we already knew this, but I just wanted to show you just for proof. Um, Everybody in this study had a BMI of like 25 to 30. Actually, I think they did 27 to 43 was the BMI that they used. And the only thing you can see all this stuff if you want to read it. The only thing I want to point out here is that really the biggest finding that they saw in this was that lean muscle mass. They saw that the lean muscle mass of people who did intermittent fasting was dramatically worse. So, meaning there was a significant decrease in lean mass in the control in the randomized group. The randomized group was the one that did intermittent fasting. Now, the difference here, now the reason for this is because they were not eating, protein. They weren't eating the same amount of protein. So what's interesting about this is the person that did this study, his name's Dr. Welsh, I believe, he actually stopped doing intermittent fasting as a result to this study because he lost on average, they lost 65% lean body mass in comparison to the control group. So I don't know where it's at in here. You guys can see it in here. I read it once. I don't feel like reading it again, but it is in here somewhere. So if you consider this, your goal when you're trying to lose weight is to have as much fat loss as possible, right? So here it is. You want as much fat loss as possible. You don't want to lose lean muscle mass, or lean mass. You don't want to lose that. You want to lose fat when you're losing weight, right? So just to be more accurate, when really you want to go on a fat loss diet, right? Because you could lose weight. The weight that you could lose could be water, it could be muscle, or it could be fat. You want to lose specifically fat. You don't want to lose muscle. So in this study, they concluded that the group that did the intermittent fasting lost 65% more lean mass than the control group. And that is why the Dr. Welsh stopped doing intermittent fasting. So, you don't really, if you're going to lose weight, it's one thing, but you really don't want to lose lean muscle mass or lean mass, because if you ever notice somebody who lost weight, but they still look kind of fat, but they just look like a smaller fat person, like a smaller version of themselves, but their body composition is still the same. That's because they lost lean mass and not fat. So, and that could be, due to not having enough protein in your diet while you are on your diet. So that is, the biggest finding in this is that they're saying that, those who do intermittent fasting lose significantly more lean mass. And so I would recommend that to you if you actually want to have a good body composition. If you just want to lose weight and, intermittent fasting is your method of doing it, I think that's better than nothing. But if you want to have a good body composition, this probably wouldn't be the best approach for you. So whatever method that you decide to do, as long as it's something that you can stick to and adhere to, I think it would be beneficial for you. But there are some methods that probably are better than others. And according to this study, if your body composition is something that's important to you and you don't want to lose muscle as you lose weight, then this may not be the best method. So what are your thoughts about this study? Do you believe this study? What do you think about it? Did you know that intermittent fasting was not any more beneficial than any other group of dieting? Did you know that? What do you think about it? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think Joe Rogan's wrong? What do you think? Just leave your comments below. And please like the video and subscribe if you found this interesting to you. And again, if you do want to learn how to eat whatever you want and still lose weight, I did put together a free 7-day meal plan. I'll include it below. All you have to do is just click the link and follow the instructions there, and I'll be glad to send it over to you. Again, my name's Ernie Potts. I am the head coach of Apex Nutrition. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a good day.